Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be benchmarking the GTX 10. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be benchmarking the GTX 1050 Ti. So you can see my system specs here. I have the Ryzen 5 5500, 32 gigs of memory, and the GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. It has 4 gigabytes of VRAM in total, but it should be enough for what we're doing today. So here on my desktop, I have the games that I think it's going to play the best to the games that I think it's going to do the worst in. So first off, we're going to start with Minecraft. By the way, I am recording externally, so recording this footage will not affect the performance of the GTX 1050 Ti. Alright everybody, I have Minecraft running right now on a single player world, and as you can see, it is stuttering a lot, and there's a reason for that. I have my frames uncapped right now, so you can see it's getting like 500 FPS, but if we go into the graphics settings, and limit the frame rate to something more like 120, it all of a sudden just becomes smoother. Of course, Minecraft isn't a very hard game to run, so it's obviously not going to struggle with it, so I think we should just take it up a notch and see how it does on Fortnite. Alright everybody, I'm in Fortnite Battle Royale, and so far, it's not doing too well. I'm sure if we turned the settings down just a little bit, it would be much more playable. But for now, I'm just going to stay on my standard graphics settings to see how well it can handle it. Alright, just gliding around, it isn't really deviating from around 45 FPS. So I'm going to find a little spot where I can sit and change the settings. We are going anti-aliasing and super resolution off, shadows off, global illumination off, view distance far, textures low, effects low. Alright, yeah, now you can see it is maintaining a smooth 60 FPS, isn't really deviating from 60 FPS. It's running fairly smooth. This is very playable in my opinion. You can tell just on screen, even with my crappy capture card that causes a lot of screen tearing, you can see that this is totally smooth. I can totally keep playing like this. I want to see how many FPS it can get uncapped, so I'm just going to set the frame rate to unlimited. Oh yeah, 90 FPS, perfect. That's like perfectly playable. I'm not complaining here. That's really good. I am curious to see how well it does in fights, because I know in more intense moments, the FPS can sort of drop. Alright, we found our first player to have a true fight against. Let's see here. There we go! That was not too intense of a fight, but I think I've proved my point here that the 1050 Ti can still handle Fortnite relatively well. But then again, any card can handle Fortnite pretty much, so I'd like to test it in another game. Alright, so we're going to be testing Marvel Rivals, because I know this game can only run on dedicated graphics cards, so I just want to make sure that it can run on the 1050 Ti. Okay, so I'm in Marvel Rivals, and this is just borderline unplayable, so I think I'm just going to try to see what I can do to make it more playable. Okay, I turned down a few settings. The game doesn't look all that great, but it is very playable. I could definitely have some fun playing this game on this graphics card. And I give this graphics card the stamp of approval for Marvel Rivals. On BeamNG Drive, it's pretty smooth, but this map also isn't the most graphically intensive, so I can understand why it's doing pretty good with this. So I think we should switch it to a different map. Okay, so here I'm in an area with more trees, grass, more stuff for the GPU to work on rendering, so it shouldn't run as well, but my guess is that it still should run well. Okay, so here we are, and we can immediately tell that it's taking a little bit of a long time to render in all of these trees, all of the grass, all of the extra objects that it has to load in compared to the other map. It's only running at about 30 FPS, and overall it's not that great. So let's see what we can do by turning down the graphics settings. See, you can see here that my settings are pretty much all on high, so I'm going to set it to low, and I want to see how I'm going to set it to low and see how good it does there. You can tell immediately that this is way better at rendering than on the ultra graphics settings. And this is totally playable. I could definitely play BeamNG Drive like this, and there are no complaints here. Moving on to our final game, Helldivers 2. I'm really curious as to how this will run on such an old card. I don't know exactly when the 1050 Ti came out, but it definitely wasn't recent, and I do want to see how good it can do on this very, very modern game. Okay, everybody, in the Helldivers 2 ship, you can immediately see that it's not running too well. I'm guessing about 50 to 60 FPS, which is fine mostly, but it's not really consistent, so just like every other game, it's time to drop those graphics settings a little bit. Alright, so I have the render scale on balanced, and the graphics are all set to low. It's time to see how well it can do here. So, you can see in the corner, on the top, you can see on the top right hand corner, it is drawing about 40 FPS. It's not great, but it's not bad. So, since missions are obviously going to be harder to render, I'm just going to jump into one of those and see how well it does. Also, if you're looking at all at the game, you can see kind of how, like, awful the game looks. It definitely isn't the best. Alright, so landing here, you can see, surprisingly, it's getting more FPS than it was in the menu. See, it's just like King's Bar. Yeah, you can see all of, like, the low texture fire and stuff. You know, it's definitely not the greatest. You can tell. But, like, overall, you can see that this is running just fine. It might not look, it does not look great at all. I'm not trying to glaze it here. But it is running. And that is more than I can say for a lot of cards that I've played on before. This is absolutely incredible. Just, I would give this my stamp of approval, but while looking this bad, I can't really justify it, so that's all I'm going to say. Let's go ahead and get this game closed. Alright everybody, I would like to thank you all for watching this video. It is my first ever benchmark, and I was super excited, and I was super excited to test this card. So if you enjoyed the video, even if I didn't test all of the games that you probably wanted to see, if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like, maybe even subscribe if you're up for that. But, yeah, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.